You're in tune to the Paperflip Real Estate Podcast.
Home buyers, sellers, renters, and investors. I'm Lloyd for Real Estate. This is the Paperflip Podcast. Forget about what you thought you knew about buying a house. For years, it really felt like an impossible dream for so many, didn't it? Bidding wars, prices through the roof, homes disappearing from the market in hours. It was a tough time for buyers. But what if I told you the ground is shifting? That's the relentless seller's market is finally, tilting. We're in the mid-2025, and yes, headlines might still be screaming about how tough it is to afford a home. And they're not totally wrong, but there's a quieter, really significant change that's happening. Active housing inventory has been climbing for 19 straight months as of May 2025, hitting a new high since the pandemic began. That means more homes are for sale month after month. Sellers who pretty much held the cards are now finding that they got more competition and are actually willing to negotiate. This isn't some fairy tale. It's how the 2025 housing market is shaping up. And for buyers who are ready to go, this could be the golden ticket you've been waiting for. Stick around because we're about to break down exactly how this shift can empower you. Let's not sugarcoat it. The last few years, say from 2020 through 2023, were probably some of the toughest times in the recent memory to be a home buyer. It was a supercharged seller's market, cranked up by those crazy low interest rates. Remember the sub 3% mortgages? Yeah, a pandemic-fueled desire for more space and just a serious lack of homes for sale. Remember that frenzy? A home would pop up on the market and bam, within hours you had a dozen offers, often way over the asking price. Buyers were ditching inspections, appraisal contingencies, pretty much anything to make that offer stand out. It felt like you needed a miracle, a giant pile of cash, and nerves of steel just to have a shot at it. So many people just threw their hands up, totally frustrated, feeling completely priced out and just beat down. Dream of owning a home felt miles away for a whole lot of folks. That was the reality. The power was firmly and sometimes pretty ruthlessly with the sellers. So what's actually changed in 2025 to make things start to tilt? It's not just one thing, but more like a mix of factors all coming together. Let me make some key points here. First, let's talk inventory. Like I said, active listings have shot up year over year. Realtor.com said we saw a 31.5% jump in homes for sale in May 2025 compared to May 2024. And that's the 19th month in a row we've seen that kind of growth. Now, naturally, inventory is still about 14% below what it was before the pandemic back in 2017 through 2019. But that gap is definitely closing. More choices for buyers means sellers can't just pick any price and expect a bidding war like they used to. In fact, by the end of May 2025, 75 of the 200 biggest housing markets in the U.S. actually had inventory levels at or even above where they were in 2019, pre-pandemic. Now, that's a big deal. Second point here is about mortgage rates. And it's still up there, no doubt. Early June 2025, the average 30-year fixed rate was hanging around 6.9%. Some folks think they might dip a bit, maybe into the mid 6% range by the year end. But those super low rates, probably not coming back soon. These higher rates have done two things. They push some buyers out, which cools down the demand. But they've also fed into the lock-in effect, where current homeowners with those sweet low mortgage rates are hesitant to sell and to take on a new and a much higher interest rate. Still, we're seeing new listings go up year over year, up 7.2% in May 2025. That tells us that maybe that lock-in is easing a bit and just that life happens and people need to move. And third point here, seller sentiment is shifting. With more homes on the market and places taking longer to sell, sellers are getting a bit of a reality check. The median time a house sat on the market nationally was 51 days in May 2025. That's 6 days longer than a year ago, and much closer to what we expect for May before the pandemic. Some reports from around April 2025 suggested that there were about 34% more sellers than active buyers out there. The biggest gap like that since way back in 2023. So what does that mean? Sellers are having to compete more for fewer buyers, and that leads to more price cuts. In April 2025, 18% of listings had their prices slashed, highest percentage for April since at least 2016. And another point here, price growth is slowing down. While national home prices are still, on average, ticking up little year over year, forecasts for 2025 are mostly between 0.8% to 3% growth nationally. That's a huge slowdown from the crazy double-digit jumps we saw before. Some predictions, like Redfin's, even hint at a possible 1% dip in median U.S. home sale prices by the end of 2025. Now, Zillow also threw out a potential 0.9% fall in U.S. home prices between April 2025 and April 2026. Now, this isn't a crash, mind you, but it's definitely a cooling. And remember, what's happening nationally might not be the story in your backyard. Things can vary a lot by region, like here in Chicago, for instance. Some markets, especially in parts of the South and the Midwest, places that boomed like crazy during the pandemic, might see small price drops or just flatter growth as their inventory really picks up. So let's be clear. This doesn't mean it's suddenly a buyer's paradise everywhere. Affordability is still a massive hurdle with high prices and those current mortgage rates. The market is still tough. But here's the bottom line. That extreme imbalance we've seen for years, it is easing. The pendulum is swinging slowly but surely away from that crazy seller's market and more towards something balanced and in some spots even a bit buyer friendly. The tilt we're seeing in 2025, it creates some real opportunities. Your golden ticket, you could say, for buyers who are prepared. So how do you actually grab these shifting conditions by the horns? Well, it's another point we have to get, and I've been saying in some of the previous briefings, negotiate, and again, negotiate. This is your biggest superpower right now. Homes are sitting longer on the market. Remember, 51 days on average in May 2025. And there are more of them, up 31.5% year over year in May. Sellers are more open to talking. Don't be shy about making an offer below asking, and especially if a house has been on the market for a bit or if similar homes have sold for less. Now, the numbers are backing this up. Now, in April 2025, over 53% of homes actually sold for under the listing price. Next thing here is to ask for seller concessions. This is happening more and more. Reports from the first quarter of 2025 show that about 44% of home sales had seller concessions. That's up from past years and getting close to the recent record highs. Now, you ask, what are concessions? It could be the seller paying some of your closing costs, kicking in for repairs found during an inspection, or even funding a mortgage rate buy down to lower your monthly payment, at least for a while. Now get this, in Q1 2025, about 1 out of every 10 sales reportedly had a concession, price cut, and still so below the original list price. So that just shows that sellers are increasingly ready to make a deal. Another point here, don't waive contingencies unless it's absolutely necessary and your agent gives you the green light on that. Back in the day, buyers felt all this pressure to waive inspections, financing, or appraisal contingencies just to compete. Now, with more power in your hands, you can and really should protect yourself. An inspection contingency lets you find potential issues and either negotiate repairs or walk away. Financing contingency saves your deposit if your loan doesn't come through. An appraisal contingency makes sure you're not paying more than the bank thinks that the house is worth. Be sure to shop around for a mortgage. Rates are generally high, sure, but they can differ from lender to lender, and we do see short dips here and there. Fannie Mae, for instance, tweaked its forecast for March 2025, suggesting rates might finish 2025 around 6.3%. Other forecasts see them staying in the high 6% range for most of the year. Getting pre-approved for a few different lenders not only shows sellers you are a serious buyer, but also helps you snag the best rate and terms that you can. Even a tiny difference in net rate can save you thousands over the life of your loan. And be sure to explore new construction. Home builders have their own market pressures and sometimes a bunch of spec homes ready to go. So they often offer some pretty sweet incentives with these new constructions. Think price reductions, free upgrades. These things help with closing costs and those mortgage rate buy downs. Plus, new construction means a modern home, usually without the immediate worry of repairs you might find in an older place. We're actually seeing some surges in new single-family home sales, partly because of these new construction builder deals. But be patient and be prepared. Because homes are taking longer to sell, you probably have more time to think through and make a smart decision instead of a rushed, emotional one. But this is a big but. The best price, most appealing homes would still go pretty fast. So do your research, get your finances lined up, including that pre-approval, and be ready to jump when you find the right place that fits the needs of your budget. Now, focus on softer markets if you can. Like I said, not all markets are the same. Some areas, especially in the South, like Florida and Texas, and some spots in the Mountain West, seen inventory bounce back much more, sometimes even passing pre-pandemic levels in cities like Denver and Austin. These places might give you more room to negotiate, so really dig into the local market conditions. And don't try to perfectly time the market. And seriously, conditions are getting better for buyers, but trying to nail the absolute bottom for prices or the lowest point for mortgage rates, well, that's a fool's game. If you're financially ready, you find the home that you love and that you can afford, and the terms look good in today's environment, it can be a great time to actually go for it. Waiting for some perfect scenario that might never show up could mean you just end up missing out. Okay, so the market is tilting, but let's keep it 100. This isn't a complete flip back to a giveaway market for buyers. Affordability is still a major hurdle. Even with prices cooling a bit, homes are still expensive nationally. Mix that with mortgage rates in the 6 to 7% zone, and the actual monthly cost of owning a home is a big challenge for a lot of people. The income you need to afford a median price home has jumped a ton compared to just a few years ago. And national trends don't always mirror what's happening locally. We can talk about national inventory going up or prices moderating, but you in a specific city or even in a specific neighborhood could be a completely different story. Now, in some places, particularly in the Midwest and the Northeast, still have super tight inventory. This is where a good local real estate agent becomes so important, someone who really gets the vibe of the specific area that you're looking at. Economic uncertainty is still out there. Now, the biggest economic picture worries about inflation, tariffs, and government policies can all sway the housing market. your job security and your own financial stability should always be at the top of mind before you make such a huge purchase. So this golden ticket, it's not about an easy breezy path to owning a home. It's about a market that's offering more opportunities, more leverage, and more choices for buyers than we've seen in a good while. But it takes being smart, being prepared, and really understanding both the chances and the challenges that are still out there. The 2025 housing market is definitely complex, but for the first time in years, it's showing clear signs of shifting to give buyers a bit more of an edge in many ways. You got a chance to go into your home search with more confidence and maybe even lock in terms that were just unthinkable a couple of years back. So what are your biggest questions about navigating this changing market? Are you seeing these shifts where you live at? Drop a comment below. I read every single one, and your experiences help everyone in this community and this channel. And hey, if this breakdown was helpful and you want to stay on the top of all things in housing and personal finance, do us a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next update. Your dream home might be closer than you think, and I'm here to help you get those keys. For years, the story was all about the uphill climb for home buyers, but in 2025, that script is getting a rewrite. More homes on the market, sellers being a bit more cautious, and prices not skyrocketing like they were. It's all coming together to create a window of opportunity. It's not a wide open door for everyone, and let's be honest, affording a home is still a real challenge. But the leverage is undeniably starting to shift. This isn't just a slump, it's more like a rebalancing. For those of you who are informed, prepared, and strategic, the tilt toward buyers could absolutely be your golden ticket to finding a home of your terms. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.